this is a big one. Phantom income, right? The potential of taking too much income out of my policy and then having the policy lapse, and then I owe money to the IRS because that suddenly in that given year has become income. So just to be really clear, you don't want that to happen. We don't want to take a bunch of income out of a life insurance policy and then have it lapse. And because what they're suggesting out there could and would happen.
Yeah.
But let's speak to that.
Yeah. So when we talk about taking income in retirement, we're often asked the question, well, great. Well, so I take the income, but then does that mean I have to repay it? All this kind of thing. Well, the answer is no. What's going to happen is when you die, there's this income tax-free death benefit that pays out. That death benefit pays off any outstanding loan, again, with tax-free dollars. So you're good, right? You're not like passing on the tax burden to your kids or anything like that, right? That's just, it takes care of it. But that presumes that tax-free death benefit actually is there to pay out. So if the policy at some point lapsed, that death benefit goes away, that mechanism no longer exists. And so now the company says, okay, great. You put in, whatever, you put in $1 million, the cash value is whatever, $2.5 million, and you took out that $2.5 million of income, but you didn't pay tax along the way because you were taking it as loans. Well, now the loan has to be paid off. In other words, your cash value and your loan balance got to be the same number, and the company's not going to let that become upside down. So as soon as that comes the same number, they call the loan, use your cash value, this $2.5 million in your cash value to pay off the outstanding loan. And now you have a taxable event. In other words, $1.5 million of income that you were taking over time. Now all of that becomes taxable in that year where that happens. So, so now the question is, well, and kind of some of these anti-IUL people would say, well, that's just an inevitability waiting to happen that I'm going to by taking income, force it into a place where now it's going to lapse, right? And here's my response to that. Be smarter than the way you take your income, right? So in other words, if I have whatever, 500,000 of net equity above what I've already taken, and I take 500 grand, and I'm counting on some sort of growth happening in the account to keep the policy from lapsing, that's an unrealistic expectation. In that scenario, I would agree that I'm basically forcing it into a place where it's going to lapse. So instead, if I have 500,000 of net equity in my cash value, I need to pick a number that I'm more comfortable with, that if the next 2, 3, 4 years, the market isn't growing and I'm not earning interest, but I'm incurring costs and this interest that's already on the loan that I have in there, I have to be realistic about the income that we take. So now this goes back to like our capital avalanche strategy, where when we're showing this future income coming out, we leave a sizable buffer. And that buffer is directly related to how much we have outstanding on our loan, because we need our cash value there, not because we're using the cash value to pay it off, but because it's collateralizing the loan and making it possible so that later on my death benefit will come in and pay off that loan. But we're building in a buffer, a cushion, so I don't take out too much income in retirement that would force it to a susceptible place where that could happen.
Blake, what do you think about Rod's rebuttal to some of your whole life concerns?
Well, unfortunately, he's just nailing it, and now I feel like I'm back to where we started, which is right in the middle, and thinking both could potentially have some value.